West, upsetting the trade routes through Kansas City, etc. And he was at the top level Mason and was in contact with the Orient Lodge in France and the Jesuits who had set that up through James II, who was the Jacobite who. So the question is that Africa was always the battleground between England,
yes,
the monarchies of Europe, and Rome, and whether Rome could control the monarchies. And it was banned from controlling England by law that nobody could be a Catholic king in England. So, and even with controlling the Georges from 1702 on, as a Lutheran, who was a nominal Lutheran, he was dealing strictly with the slave trade and everything else through the Barbary pirates and the Vatican. He was the one who polluted this country with slavery. And the question of England, per se, through Victoria, which was the longest reigning monarch, through Rhodes, Cecil Rhodes, and
yes,
that to colonize the strategic minerals under their control, and that had been whittled away by Vatican and the Knights of Malta, and their Knights of Malta being the business arm of the Vatican ever since 1307, when De Molay and the Templars were banned from the world, and they became off with their fleet of ships. And after the destruction of the Spanish Armada under Elizabeth, the Templars, their ships became reigning of the sea and were battling with the British fleets. And the Skull and Bones, that's the Templars, and that's the Barbary pirates.
They were battling with the British.
Right, and the Templars were running the slave trade with Islamists, and they were taking whole villages to take away the slaves, and for George, and essentially the Jesuits through Baltimore were running the slave trade right there. And when Jefferson had opposed that, and I'm skipping around here, but the point is that everything was about slavery and strategic minerals and commodities, so that the British, in their loss of the grip of the empire in the late 1800s, and Rhodes had been the one who had secured that.
Right.
And the Milner Group and the various Massonations, there was never since the death of Cromwell, Cecil Rhodes. It was the closest thing you could get as a ruthless SOB, and that certainly his bringing English education and structure was very important stuff. You know, that's really the strength when you bring education to the system of educating everyone, which was done. It shines day and night from after the 15th century comparison, before 15th century under Islam, where education was an intellectual pursuit, was pretty much wiped out by the Rome and put back in the bottle, see. But that Africa being the most stable geologic structure, it has been the battleground. And certainly since Carter, Reagan as a Knight of Malta going in, breaking up South Africa, dampening down the control of gold by using what's called the black gold, the black eagle gold, where after World War II, where de Chardin in China essentially discovered Peking man and discovered the chauvinism of the worst aspects of China and put Mao in charge of that chauvinism, but under control of the Catholics. And the only difference was that the Central Committee chose the cardinals of the Catholic Church. In other words, that what Benedict is attempting to do is putting together a deal with it where the Catholic Church can appoint the cardinals. Now the communists appoint the cardinals. That's the difference. But China is Catholic oriented through its relationship to the Jesuits, through de Chardin, the New Age movement, ecumenism, and so don't worry about the Chinese per se. Worry about what the center of movement right now with a roadmap into Jerusalem is all about.
I really don't understand that. I really need more explanation.
Well, look, Babylon, long before.
Now, what will today, if we have the Pope in Jerusalem, which is where Israel is, what effect will it have on Israel? How will it affect trade? I don't understand this.
Albert Pike wrote a letter to those, to a couple very important high-level European Masons who were monarchists, laying out the plan for World War I. He laid it out.
Yes.
There's going to be a World War I in which the Christian church, the true Christian church, which was centered and protected under Tsar Nicholas, was to be decimated.
Yes.
That monarchy was to be decimated because it was protecting the true Christian church, the true pretender or the true claimant to the apostolic Christianity. So that he felt that had to be the roadmap to destroy true Christianity. And this was Pike, 1871. He laid out the 30 Years' War scenario going into World War II on nearly the very date where the breakout of World War II happened, to essentially reestablish Palestine and reestablish Israel. And then he pinpointed the establishment of the center of Jerusalem today, which we're talking about. So this was all done in 1871. You cannot have simultaneous revolution. You cannot have wars without long, long planning and expending of great deals of money and effort and creating tensions where you can synthesize this thesis antithesis, where you can synthesize the end result. It takes a great deal of effort and planning. There's no such thing as spontaneous major upheaval and change. It's very costly. And anybody who believes differently should rethink their position. But the point is, people tend to get along because they have to live together. And when you have a crotchety old guy, he's always referred to, that guy down the road, Yeah, don't let the children walk fast when you go by his property, So the point is, when people get together, they tend to create stability. They tend to create change that's good for generally everybody, and they don't allow things to get out of control. And it's always, you're working from bottom up, it's always a resistance to the sort of didactic, drastic and outrageous change which has been imposed for the last 100+ years, 130, 40 years. But Albert Pike was at the center of it.
So
the Masons.
Now, if they create a zone, the North American Union, with a redback and the Amero. This Amero cannot be exchanged for the redback.
Right.
So you're locked into the North American Union.
Right. And that's going to be everybody's going to be dragged through, oh, my 401k, my this, my that, and they're going to convert this. Just like Hitler, just as FDR made it illegal to hold gold and took gold out of the public, Hitler simultaneously, through, again, the relationship to the Vatican Bank starting in 1921, reestablished gold to stabilize the mark, the Deutschmark. So they went on a gold standard. So that when you have a standard based upon something other than hot air and derivatives and debt, and selling debt, the Ponzi scheme which is going on now,